Thank you so much. Thanks, Philip. Thanks, Andrew. Delighted to be here. So what I thought we'll do today, I'll begin by sharing the screen in order to provide the quick context, maybe just one or two quick mental models, and then hopefully it'll allow us to begin from there and then get really to the meat of what we want to talk about, which is really the demo itself. So without any further ado, let us get quickly into what we are trying to show here. The way we've been thinking about this is really the idea of building, for lack of a better term, a new trust layer into this new world of obviously these agents that have the extraordinary capability to do for us these amazing things that they can do, while at the same time attempting to bind them into a real human being, so that link for both traceability, liability purposes, compliance, and all other elements is taken into account. There is also an element that while it is all in good to get them started, what does one do with them once they go to town and start to do their own work, which is at which point do we inject particular triggers that will allow us then to decide that the delegation goes up to a certain point, but that beyond that particular point, the agent needs to phone back home so we can have an action that can follow with that. Obviously, with the best practices of biometrics, a layered approach that combines all of the elements that are required need to be employed here. More specifically, with the number of the behavioral signals that are very important, they can be really a very potent solution to help us with the overall thing. Then one day we can foresee in a very near future, perhaps fewer agents that can carry their own interoperable digital passports that will allow them to really authenticate via multiple ID providers and do what they want to do. So what I thought I would showcase today are these various scenarios, which I'll put the demo shortly in the screen, but this will be a good model to think about them on how they fit. We'll attempt to model scenarios where there is essentially the baseline, where there is no delegation to an agent. A trusted human being gets involved into an e-commerce transaction. That forms a baseline, generally referred to as the know your customer baseline, as a good trust model. And the question would be to explore, can we have a play on word that takes us from a KYC to a KYA, a know your agent paradigm that will allow us then to take some of the best practices and apply them to this new reality without introducing significant friction or undermine the very purpose for which we attempted to create this idea that allows us to do more with less using these agentic resources. Obviously, because of our particular expertise and the focus that we have in the industry, we lean on where we are really expert at, and that is the use of biometrics in order to confirm the agent actions at the moment of delegation to do what we need to do. So I'll attempt to model like these delegation paradigms where a user goes directly, a user gives a trusted assertion to an agent to perform certain things and then check back home, but then have the binding of the biometric also sit at the back and allow the user to interact with other tokens or go to other methods of verifications, such as possibly an MDL or something of that nature. So that's the context that I will attempt to cover very briefly in the demos. And so for us, it all starts practically with the trusted foundation. So what is this trusted foundation? Where we gotta first enroll and make sure that the person that we are dealing with is a true person, that there is a proof of personhood, a trusted starting point and things of that nature. So we begin a formal enrollment. So what I did with my own here prior to this, so I did enroll myself using obviously face recognition, where we check against possible attack vectors of deep fakes, injection attacks, and things of that nature, built on our own technology to ensure that we are dealing with a human being with the proof of personhood that can be asserted, and then that goes into the process, and now we have a human being that gets enrolled in that. Now that we are using primarily the mechanism of biometrics of face recognition as the ultimate trusted token for that particular identity, we can do quite a bit with it. So we can decide on the particular workflows and the rigor with which we do that particular environment. Do we want it to be biometric exclusive? Do we want it to be biometric with document? Do we want it to be multimodal? Do we want to bind the particular device to it? Etc., etc. So a number of things can be done in here. And if we wanted also to make sure that we work on identity resolution and disambiguation, we can also leverage the power of biometrics of checking, for example, for a particular probe of an image that comes in, did somebody attempt to register this before under different credential and what goes with them. So this is the entire toolkit of biometrics being deployed in ensuring that the integrity of the system of record is where it needs to be. So when we spawn later on from it, all of these agents, that we are starting from a foundation that we can trust. So that's the first part of starting from a trusted foundation. So now flip into the second part, which is the modeling of the agentic model. So let's now take an application where I recorded myself in this particular one as John Doe, and we're going to walk through this particular workflow. An agent has been created, obviously also employing MCP as the case in here. This particular agent needs to be confirmed, and so we're going to step through this workflow step by step. It's going to configure the agent. It's going to go and perform the search the way we want it to perform it. We want it to do the triage and provide us with what it needs so we can actually turn this into inputs in our shopping cart. Then because of this particular scenario where I did not delegate to the agent a totally autonomous function, whenever it touches the money, I want it to get back to me to perform a verification. It's going to be a biometric verification. And once the verification is confirmed via biometrics, then the purchase can be completed and whatnot. So this particular agent for us in this application is primarily a deal agent. So we want it to go out there. It's going to go and find out from a number of sources, online stores in this case, the item in which I am particularly interested, find the best deal, which is the requirement that we want this agent to perform for us, and then make that recommendation and push all the way through until it arrives to putting that item into the shopping cart. However, before it executes the financial transaction, it needs to call back home to verify the identity verification. So we're going to go in here, and obviously I'm going to log in into this application. And now we are into the environment. So say it's my daughter's birthday, and she loves headphones. She's been asking for ones to go and find something for her. By all means, I do have a rather low budget for this one. She wants high end, but we're gonna try to limit that expectation on the high end. So see if you can find me a number of headphones that can gain that. So the agent then goes and performs that entire function until it finds for us what we need to go. So we're gonna do a couple options come out. So a number of them are where they need to go. This one at 149 seems to be reasonable for us in order to proceed. So what we would like to do is now to perform the biometric verification. I also embedded a pin in here just for the multi-factor authentication in number of cases where it is required for us to move through that. And now I have a choice. I can either go the route of the biometric verification, or I can also delegate that to a digital wallet that happens to have my MDL, against which the mobile driver license can be checked to do that. So we'll confine ourselves today to the user of identity. Here is the case where we would want this to take place as we move into it. So I'm going to start the verification. And here you go. So there where it performed is a liveness check. The liveness check has gone to ensure that I am a real human being into the transaction. After the human being, it performed obviously the match of the face recognition. It returns all of the record. And we can see here that it did in fact perform that in according to the rule and got us to where we needed to get it and complete the entire transaction. So this is the model that we are foreseeing in the use of this and what we have done with it up to this particular point, which would be a perfect way to conclude and to segue into the final closing remarks. So effectively here, the way we've been thinking about this is really to loop back to where I started. The idea is, can we learn from this experience of the KYC best practices and bring a number of those best practices back to this world that we refer to as the KYI, to know your agent in a way that as we spawn these things in the future, and there will be a number of them, that there is traceability and there is binding that we can reassure the users that that is the case in there. What remains to be key in all of this, as is always the use of biometrics when it gets involved into something. So we have to do this judiciously to ensure that the balancing act between the benefits of the autonomy of the agents, the requirements for the low friction to ensure that this doesn't add significant things. For example, if continuous authentication becomes rather onerous and at every single step we are asking to verify and verify and verify, then we clearly undermine the very workflow that we are trying to enhance and improve considerably. And finally, obviously, this cannot be at the expense of trust and security because it needs to remain in there. And that, in conclusion, brings what I wanted to share with you today. And perhaps we can stop here, invite a few questions.
Great stuff, Mohamed. Awesome job.
Pleasure, sir.
After a little bit of a glitch about getting on and off, but
no worries. No
we
worries.
have
Things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So we only have time for one question.
Yes, sir.
What should organizations do today to prepare for a world where AI agents act on behalf of users? How much better can they prepare, basically?
Yeah, probably the best advice I would start with would start with this idea of thinking about adopting this paradigm. As much as today organizations care very deeply about their customers and they need a framework for KYC, the best way to prepare for that is to think of a framework of a KYA. So in trying to know your agents, what we find is that the biometric can be a very good starting solution, and indeed a powerful one that can begin to find this binding and partnering with people that can help in finding that solution and working through all of the tribulations of understanding its deployment, understanding its use, understanding its application, its integration, and all of that would be tremendously helpful. So that would be my starting recommendation and advice.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really enjoyed the demo.